Okay, so hi, this is the Drupal Usability meeting for June 20th, 2017. Happy birthday to Roy Schulten. He's not available for today. He's having his birthday celebrations with the family. We collected some topics for today, and all of them are workflow related. One is users with just the create content permission don't know the publishing status now that we don't show the field and we don't have it on the button. The other one is to add a select field to choose a moderation state on entity forms. And the final suggested one was implement the unified workflow UI. And I think either all of those would be demoed and discussed with Tim, or the last one maybe discussed with Josef. I think we can start with whichever one is ready for discussion, Tim.
Okay, I'm currently running a Drush SI, so hopefully I'll have something to demo in a moment. But yeah, we can kind of summarize all of them while I'm waiting. So the users with just create content permission don't know publishing status. It turns out this was even an issue before we changed the button, in that if a user just has permission to create content, they don't have the administered nodes or administer content permission, then they don't know the context in which they are saving. So the button just says save, and they don't know if they're saving something as published or not, because generally they'll be viewing the entity form or the node form in Bartik or the front end theme, so they wouldn't even have the sidebar that says published or unpublished at the top. So out of the box, if someone just has that permission, they hit save and it will publish the content. And that's probably not what we want. So I guess this is kind of twofold. Do we want to put some context around the button and make the user aware of what state they'll be saving in? And also, do we want to change the default publishing status to unpublished if the user doesn't have permissions to change the publishing status? So this has been an issue in Drupal 7. It came to my eye because I saw someone using a Drupal 7 site and they didn't know if they were going to end up publishing something or not. I actually hit this morning with a Drupal 8. I was on a site that I was asked to write a blog post on. I wrote the blog post, hit save, and it published because I didn't have permission to change the publishing status, and I didn't wish to publish it yet. So yeah, it's a tricky one that's even hitting me. I have my local environment set up, so if people want to share their views, I will create a user with the right permissions and show it, but hopefully it's fairly self-explanatory so far.
So if somebody's using the 7 theme, they have an indication already, so they would know the current status.
Right, but that's in the top right, completely away from the save button. So it's not really in context.
And it also doesn't save them, this doesn't help them from saving something published that, or does it already say it's published when you create a new thing?
If they create a new node, it will save as published, and it will say published up in the top right. But yeah, they have no option to save it as unpublished. Yeah.
Well, that's at least consistent then. So at least it's okay if you use 7 theme. It's not okay if you use something else, because the 7 theme has a specific UI to show that.
Right. But generally, if someone's got the permissions to view the entity form in 7 theme, then they would have the permissions to edit content.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen and see if I can demo this. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. I've got a local install where all I've done is given the anonymous user the permission to create article content. So it's article create new content is the permission name. So I've given that to anonymous, and in the create article form, they have the option to save. So the patch in the issue that we're discussing adds the published checkbox in as a disabled field and gives the description, you cannot change the published status. So it's still kind of a work in progress and a proposal, really. But that's, I think, a good way to give context to the button. Any thoughts on that?
I think it would make more sense if it wouldn't be a disabled field. Like, there's definitely different browsers and different styles where it's not really evident if that's disabled or not.
Right.
We need to tell very little differences of color apart, because our buttons are also light gray, and this checkbox is light gray. Is it disabled?
Yeah.
The buttons are not disabled. So yeah, I think some kind of display similar to what the 7 theme does here, that it's going to be saved unpublished, but
right. But then that's a very different UI to what a user with permissions would see.
yeah. Yeah, I think there's a permission to change it, but it's not the permission to see the state. It's just the permission to change the state. So we should be able to display the state even if you're not allowed to change it.
Yeah.
I don't know how the API deals with the field permissions. If you're not allowed to change it, could it still invoke some field widget to display the value in a way?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Here we're just overriding it in node form, overriding the access on the widget.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we could do something similar. I'm not really sure how the access is handled. If you have access to edit the widget, does it then halt you somewhere in the validation for the access of changing the field value? I assume so. But yeah, that will need testing.
Tim, do you have a version with the 7 theme enabled?
No, I don't. I'm wondering what permission I need to enable to get the user to have the 7 theme. I'm just going through the system permissions and seeing if any of these. There's a permission view the administration theme, which sounds like the correct permission.
Yeah, I think that one is.
Let me give that to an anonymous user and see if that does a trick. Okay, here we are. That's slightly messed up things a little bit, but it's also not showing the publish status at the top, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's another permission again that we need, because it's also showing author with no value, but it should be no value because it's a new node, so there is no author yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm discovering more bugs as we go along. So do we think that just a text markup above the button would be the best solution and not show the checkbox?
Maybe it would be good to show it in some sort of not warning like error message, but just warning, the orange or yellow. At least the icon next to it, and the text, you cannot change the publish status. So people are, so it would be easy to identify what that actually is.
Okay.
And to give that information. So I'm not sure then again if it depends on the theme which the site is using, if that has some warnings implemented.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it will depend on the theme, but all the core themes, well, anyway, Bartik and 7 render the warnings. So I assume a user-implemented theme, as long as we use the correct classes, would have the same things. But it does also seem a bit scary if we're showing a warning when, I don't know, the user hasn't done anything wrong, and nothing's gone wrong, and it seems a bit strange to show a warning.
That's why I didn't want to show the warning, like the red is error. Yeah.
So red is error, yellow is warning.
Yellow is warning. So maybe not the whole yellow background and everything, just the icon from there, or something like information. Because I don't think we have like information icon. Something sort of FYI.
Yeah.
I guess the status message by default is more like it fits a bit more on this kind of piece of information we could be given to the we could be giving to the user. I mean, it's not a warning; it's just information.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I wouldn't use warning kind of message.
Yeah, you can definitely have a go with the different options and see which one looks best. I'm assuming they're just different classes, so we can easily mock them up in code. Okay, I think I'm good then on there. Let me move on to the next one, unless anyone's got any other comments on there. So the next issue I've got is the content moderation save buttons. So I'm just going to enable moderation, and then I can demo that. I've got a few too many windows open, so I'm getting lost. Right. Great. Hopefully you can see my screen again, and you can add some content. And now I've got 2 patches enabled. You can see that it's slightly messed up. but just ignore the publish checkbox. That is from the other patch, which is bleeding into this one. What we're looking at here is the on save drop down. So it's telling you what's going to happen. So this previously was in a drop button, but because Node has moved away from that, we need to move away from it really in content moderation. So we've got this drop down telling you what it's going to do on save. So if we create this test article and on save publish, it will publish this, and then we can go back and edit that. And it gives the current status as published, and on save we can keep published, we can create a new draft, or we can archive. So hopefully that is fairly self-explanatory and makes sense. So yeah, I've now moved that to archive, and we've got on save, restore to draft, or restore. Does that make sense? Any questions, any comments, or any thoughts?
Can you please go back to the previous screen?
Where I had it to published, or this one?
Yes, this one.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the moderate.
Yeah.
So this moderate is coming from content moderation?
Yes.
Or the workflow, or?
This is coming from content moderation that allows you to edit the moderation state of this article without going to the edit form. So we can change the status there.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we should sort of try unifying the wording on both screens, because here it's moderate and then draft, and there on the other screen we have on save, keep published, or create a new draft.
Yep. So you think we should put here on save, create a new draft in the drop down, and then maybe the apply button should be save, because that relates to on save.
Yes, so that would be better. I was going to say that maybe not, because that is apply and not save, but if we can, if that is the actual save, then maybe so, yes.
Yeah, so apply does just apply the moderation state, but behind the scenes it does save the node, but just with no changes to any of the content. So, yeah, in effect it is saving. But does putting save there, is it evident that it's only saving the moderation state?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking about. If it's not better like this, that it's only changing moderation and then applying, because now we are quite sure that you're only applying changes to the moderation settings and not the whole node. Yeah. So maybe it's better now. What do other people think? Maybe what could be done is also that the status is not just status, but also like a moderation status or something like that.
Yeah.
A little bit more explanatory.
Yeah, so in the edit form, we've got current state. So we can change the current state.
That will be better. It will be consistent.
And then would it be best then to have, instead of moderate, to have new state or other sort of wording? Because if we have the wording save, obviously I think the button has to change to save.
But if we have something like new state, then we can use new state on both screens.
Or change to, or something like that. Change the state to, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think change to.
Change to could be a good one, yes. But then, because we use keep published, it doesn't sound good. Change to keep published.
Yeah, I think we'll have to have the state here rather than the transition. Draft and publish are the states that you're moving to, whereas on the edit screen, these are the transitions, the transition that you are performing. So
Yes.
yeah, I think on the other screen it should be the state, and here it should be the transition.
It's also strange that you have current state archived, and then the top of the sidebar says not published. So there's multiple different terminologies in terms of what's going on here.
Yeah, that's a tough one. We could do a form alter to change that published, but that published is being pulled in 7 theme.
Yeah.
So I wonder if the form alter would we be able to run it after 7 does its form alter? So yeah, I guess that could be possible.
Because at first, when you started creating the node, it looked like the same thing. Because so long as they are published, then both the state and the status is published.
Yeah.
But when it becomes archived or draft or something, then the state and the status are different. So I was first looking at it and it was, it's the same information. And then later on, I was like, it's not the same information.
Yeah.
Tricky.
Yeah, so I think the best thing here would be to try to have it as consistent as possible.
Yeah.
So people wouldn't get confused that they are doing some different operation.
Okay.
There.
I'll see what I can do about removing. So this is now a new article, and it doesn't have published. But when we were creating, well, after we save, then it does say published. But yeah, we could just remove that, hopefully.
Yeah, so it's consistent now because the name of the state and the name of the status is the same, but for draft and archived, it's not.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have a go at that. See what I can do, and I'll have a go then at changing the other moderation form to be more consistent. Okay. Unless there's any other comments, that's all from me. And Joseph, did you want to go through the workflows stuff?
Sure, I can.
And while you're talking, I'll see if I can get a demo of what we got so far.
Okay, so I'm talking about this issue 2830584, implement unified workflow UI, and that is the layouts for when you have a workflow module enabled, and you can create or edit workflow states and then transitions. So some time ago, I'll try to go to start here. So this is a screen which is showing process of creating a new workflow, where you set what kind of workflow, what kind of entity types, and then you can create moderation states and creating new transitions. The way how transitions are created is that you give it a label. You select which, using checkboxes, you select which moderation states that the transition is from, and you can and you have a drop down to select one option where the transition is going to. So the layout is multiple for multiple checkboxes from, and one single drop down for two. And Kevin already had an idea of trying to using some different layout for mostly the transition screen, and so the functionality would be something like this: that you select from state, and then you select to state, and also you're suggesting a different layout for how to show multiple transitions on one screen, instead of having a table with list. Sorry, I have to say this. Yeah, a table with a list of transitions and then having modal screen for editing that. So I was trying to come up for a solution or exploring alternative approach rather than tables and models. I need to scroll down, so it's quite down. So Bojan was giving a feedback that he would like to challenge the thinking of tables and the models, and try to look at what Kevin has proposed. So when I was thinking about that, there were a few concerns with what Kevin proposed, and that was that first you need to select one of multiple options on the to side. So it's not only one that you have here, but you actually can select from multiple. And then if we have it on one side, all of the all of the states listed one below each other. Then also on another side, on the opposite side, we need to be able to select from those. Another issue was that when you go to add new transition model or to add new transition screen, no option would be selected. And if there weren't any checkboxes or something common for people, I was concerned that users might not know what to do there or where to click. So in reality, it would look something like this. And it's not very clear that people can click on it. It can have some animations on hover, but it's not very visible there. And the third concern was that it didn't communicate that you can select multiple on the from state, but only one on the to state. So I don't know why the image is not showing here, but I came up with something like this. So this is still in a model, but on transition from, you can have options where you can still keep the checkboxes, and you can click on that. And then on the transition to, you have another, you have one single drop down where you can select same options. And then if you click on options or select options on both sides, then you will get this nice connection, same as here. So I was sort of trying to combine the best of both suggestions or both approaches, and I was hoping to get some feedback on this idea. before we actually start implementing this. So any feedback?
Wow, I really like it. It's a really good improvement, I think.
One concern, or not concern, is that we don't really have anything like this in the, I would say, Drupal UI library. So this would be a new thing. And the question is that if maybe it's time to start creating new UI elements or new ways how to have checkboxes and drop downs available for other places as well. But this may be a different discussion.
Yeah, maybe. But I don't know. I think that the change from the tabs to here, it's a really good simplification. I mean, you're not repeating the information, and it has sense. Maybe just adding some explanation about it, like a description or introduction.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So basically, it's changing this screen here, with checkboxes and drop down into something like this. And then maybe in the next stage, I can also try create maybe some different layout for this page itself. But I didn't really figure out how to display transitions or narration states. Oh, where did it go? Like this, because if you have multiple, more than 3, but if you have maybe 8, how you would display this? Also, if it's responsive, how do you display tabs? But this is like a first step.
Yeah, at least having them one on the right, one on the left, and the other on the right, it has a lot of sense, at least. Well, anyway, it's just my opinion. I don't know what other people think about it.
I think it looks really good, and the nice thing about it is we can do it all with CSS, so we can keep it within the content moderation for now, and yeah, just do it all in CSS and then move it out into 7 potentially or somewhere else if it's something that we want to use elsewhere.
I think with this transition to drop down, you would also need some jQuery, because you would have to, or you would need to create this as a list, and then this as some button or anchor, because it's not really possible to style drop downs. So when it's select and options.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it complicated a little bit.
I was just trying to do that on a different project, and it was not very simple.
Yeah.
But it looks nicer.
Yeah, indeed it looks it.
Okay. Any more feedback, or you think this is? Should we try implementing this?
So is this to be implemented in the same issue, or this is multiple issues on top of each other?
I think it's in the same issue.
Yeah, I think this is actually the purpose of that issue, and the other stuff sort of derived from the original purpose of that issue.
So what is the other stuff that we've already done?
So yeah, let me demo where we are so far. So far in that issue, all we've really done is move everything into a modal. So it was what Joseph was demoing to start with. So these edit links all now open in modals. So saving this will save the state, and you can create new states in modals. Transitions, again, edit in a modal. It's just this from and to that we're looking to change. We've also got deletes working in modals, so it brings up the delete confirmation. So it just brings things down to a lot less clicks, I think, and gives more context, because where previously it would open as a new page, and then you'd save that and you'd still be here on the state page. It makes a lot more sense, I think, being in modals as Joseph designed in the first place. It's just that last step is to sort the transitions out, and it's also consistent with what we've done elsewhere with the selection of entities, because this is already in content moderation with the modals. So currently, as Drupal 8 stands, we've got some of the things opening in modals and some opening new pages, and it's not consistent.
Yeah, I think if we think that this is an improvement, it would probably be best to get committed in itself, so to somehow separate the two, because I think there's a lot to be done about improving the UI for transitions.
Okay, so you think, as we've got it here, as I'm demoing, get this in first, and then move the transitions into that left and right.
If this is already, I mean, it's a unique improvement in itself. If we agree this is how it should be done, and improving this specific model in a way is its own thing, I guess. So either, yeah. So since that issue is already implementing the modals, I think we can focus that on getting the modals in, and then we can have an issue to implement the rest of the improvements to this specific model. Otherwise, I think it risks being derailed in terms of how that UI should look like and how it's implemented, and the CSS problems and the jQuery problems and the RTL support and whatever, and the rest of the work that was done to make them modals may go to the side.
Okay, that sounds fine to me. We just need to convince Bojan by the looks of it. Okay, I think that's everything that we've got from the workflow side of things. Are there any other comments or thoughts?
Not for me. It looks good. Great progress.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Thanks for doing the
Thanks,
demos.
everyone.
Thank you.
No worries.
See you, man. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.